Hi guys, here are notes over argumentative. On each slide, you should see a little microphone symbol, just like the one you clicked on to hear this information. Be sure to click on those, as there might be additional info that I need you to understand. So when it comes to an argumentative essay, there are 3 different steps that we are going to take, and it's important to take note of the order of these steps because we tend to get them backwards. As you can see on the screen, they are number 1, investigate a topic, number 2, collect, generate, and evaluate evidence, and number 3, then establish a position on the topic in a concise manner. Most of us, when we think about arguing, already have an idea of which side we stand on whatever topic we choose. I'm not saying that for your piece you cannot choose a topic that you already have an opinion on, but you need to realize that before you definitively decide what your opinion is, you have to do a little investigating first. You have to find a little evidence to back yourself up, because it might turn out that once you do the research, you might actually change your mind on how you feel. So on this slide, we have an everyday common example of an argument, and even though this argument is very different from what your finished argumentative essays will look like, it's still set up in the same format. You have the claim, or where Bob stands. He thinks the movie they saw was lame. Then you have the evidence to back up the claim. The special effects were bad, and the monster was too fake. Finally, you have the counterclaim and the refutation/rebuttal. Susie, the opponent, claims that the movie wasn't that bad because the acting was believable. This is the counterclaim, the other side of the argument. Now Bob can come back at her with the refutation one of 2 ways. We have the bad rebuttal example, which Bob calls Susie an idiot. Comebacks like those, you're an idiot, you're dumb, how could you be so stupid? You want to make sure that you never come back at someone like this, whether it's in your argumentative essay, during a normal conversation after you leave the movies, on social media, and other places where you might argue with someone. If you have to resort to name calling as your refutation, you've automatically already lost because you have no other information to back yourself up. You'll notice, though, that Bob's second response, the good response, is much more respectful and much more likely to actually change someone's mind or at least get them to see your side of the story. Bob acknowledges Susie's opinion, but then goes on to prove that the good acting can't possibly help the movie when its other areas were so good. This slide talks about the differences between persuasion and argument. Even though plenty of people think the two are completely interchangeable, they aren't. Persuasion is when someone is trying to persuade you to do or buy something, and it typically tries to deal with the emotional side of things. The fundraiser commercials, you know the ones, the starving children or sad puppies stuck out in the cold, are perfect examples of persuasion. They tug at your heartstrings so you'll donate money to the organization. Argument, however, is usually a lot more cold-hearted. That doesn't mean that you can't use emotion to try and change someone's mind in argument, but you are supposed to rely mostly on the cold heart. This slide talks about the claim or the thesis statement of an argumentative essay. Remember, a thesis statement is simply a 1-sentence summary of what your paper should be about, and it should always appear in the first paragraph of whatever type of essay you're writing, whether it's expository, argumentative, sometimes even like a personal narrative might have something like a thesis statement. In argumentative, the thesis statement just goes by the name of claim, and the claim simply tells us where you as the proponent stand. When we get into actually writing our essays, I will treat writing the claim like a math formula. You will have a set formula in front of you and you will have to follow it. It's not going to be one of those things where you can kind of have your different ways of going about stating the claim. We're all going to have a very uniform claim by the end of this essay. The counterclaim is simply the other side of the argument. Every topic that you could possibly argue has the flip side. And it's your job as the proponent to make sure that you understand what that other side is. If you don't, you have no way to possibly take a guess at what the opponent, the other side, could possibly come at you with. And so then if you have no idea what they're going to say, you'll have no chance to actually try to prove them wrong in the rebuttal. You have to make sure as the proponent you understand both sides of the argument so that you can thoroughly argue and back yourself up with evidence. The next two slides are fairly straightforward. You can just read through them on your own. However, I want to do a quick check to see who is actually listening to these bits that I've taken the time to add. On the quiz over the notes, you'll take in a few minutes. You will see a blank question at the end. Anyone who hasn't listened will assume it's just probably a glitch or a mistake that I made. However, I want you to put in the blank the name of my cat, Nando. Make sure you type it exactly as I say, or else it will be copied correctly. It's capital N-A-N-D-O-S. Again, capital N-A-N-D-O-S. Make sure the N is capitalized. Don't add any other punctuation. Don't add any spaces. But just put that in there for me, and you'll get a freebie point so that I can see who is actually following instructions. This slide talks about the refutation. Another name for the refutation is rebuttal, and I will go back and forth between using them. So make sure you realize that they are the exact same thing. They just have two different names. This is the place where you take the time to show your opponent that you know what you're talking about. And so it's just simply your moment to prove that the counterclaim and that opponent is wrong, or maybe they have a good point, but it's not good enough for what you're trying to prove. Remember, it is ridiculously important to not just resort to name calling. Have those facts to prove why the other side of the argument is the wrong side to back. Okay, guys, this is the final slide you have to take notes on. The rest of these slides we will be using on Thursday for an argumentative labeling quiz that you'll take either in small groups or with a partner, and I'll explain all of that on Thursday. Otherwise, all you need to do is get back onto Canvas and study for that Google Form quiz. There should be a Quizlet link there for you. You run through those, have those down, and you should be good for that quiz. There are a couple of extra questions that ask you to label like the claim and the refutation and the counterclaim from some student essays from a couple of years back. Those are multiple choice. They should be pretty straightforward. You should be able to figure them out. But just take your time, look back through the notes if you need to, pull the Quizlet back up if you need to, and good luck.